been around 2 years since the first season of Invincible released, but every now and then I think about the first fight with Omni Man and the Guardians of the Globe. This was not a normal rock'em sock'em quippy superpowered fight. It was incredibly thought out and highly technical from an animation standpoint. So, in the imminent arrival of Season 2, I figured it would be an appropriate time to revisit it. It's easy to dismiss the Guardians as simple parodies of DC's Justice League, but there's a certain psychological advantage to making these heroes look like super recognizable ones. We not only inherently care about these characters despite the very little screen time spent with them due to their familiarity, but the suspense is elevated double the amount when we realize they are dealing with a threat that they most likely will not be able to handle this early on. Omni-Man targets the Immortal first not only due to his sheer strength, but his clear role as leader in the group, which we saw in the very first fight of the series. In a genre where we have so many villains monologuing and describing their whole motivation while in battle, it is strangely terrifying and incredibly chilling to have one not say anything at all. No words or explanation, just a cold-blooded killer on a mission. Omni-Man recognizes that Red Rush playing defense is preventing him from landing a single hit on anybody. In fact, it is completely conceivable that had Red Rush stayed on purely as support while the other Guardians went on the offense in small groups, they would have decisively won this fight until he didn't. Red Rush makes a huge mistake by going on the offense by himself with no backup. A lot of people dismiss this as a lapse in judgment and just pure stupidity. It's probably a mix of those things, but I also believe that he just grew impatient.
How is this going to work if I can't hold your interest through one conversation?
Hold my interest? Olga, please. You can't see things how I do. My perception is just as fast as I am. The briefest conversation with anyone seems like hours to me. It's agony!
The music completely dissipates as soon as Red Rush dies, and we as a viewer finally understand the gravity of the situation. No one is truly
Why have you done this?
Yeah, I really don't know what Darkwing was trying to do here. Like, he's a regular rich person, and he somehow thought it'd be a good idea to pounce on Omni-Man like a cat.
Oh no.
This might be the highest IQ move Omni-Man does in the entire fight. He throws Darkwing's corpse at Ghost so she can turn tangible in order to catch him and completely freak her out. Ghost realizes this, but even a split second is too big of a window.
Are you all right?
I live.
Someone must be controlling him. He would never do this.
Regardless, it's him or us.
I choose us.
This is the heaviest shot Omni-Man takes in the entire fight, even wobbling him for a second. Omni-Man pull counters War Woman so fast Aquarius doesn't even have time to react. Martian Man tries to wrap him up like he did the first time, but instead of immediately breaking out, Omni Man decides to bide his time purely on his own toughness and targets Martian Man. This is probably the second nastiest body shot in comic book history.
I...
I think it's fascinating to imagine what he's thinking of in this exact moment, and it portrays a level of greatness in storytelling where a character has multiple layers to break down. Is he regretful or in disbelief that he just brutally massacred his friends? Is he simply relieved that it's over and that he can finally move forward with the Viltrumite plan that he's championed since the day he arrived on Earth? These are questions that really exemplify great character driven plot. However, what's an example of a similar fight scene done badly? Scarlet Witch versus the Illuminati in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness was one of the most brutal scenes in the entirety of the MCU. The horror aspect of this film was a definite highlight, but I'm here to tell you that brutality just isn't enough to fully make a scene like this. There is zero tension in this scene. Making an incredibly wide power discrepancy between the heroes and villains isn't a cardinal sin. Thanos is actually very good proof of that. It doesn't work in this case, however, because it's all too predictable. It feels like an inevitability that Wanda will steamroll these guys from second one, and that's exactly what happens. It also doesn't help that she stomps them not purely because of her immense power, but because everyone is just stupid. I mean, the smartest man on the planet, Reed Richards, literally says he can kill you with a single whisper from his mouth like he's supposed to whisper from somewhere else, which is a very obvious line setup. Their team chemistry, despite being this long-time Avengers-like group, was non-existent. Wanda's powers are insanely inconsistent to the point where they don't even make sense. She can just manipulate matter and take away Black Bolt's mouth just cuz, but for some reason is very inclined to have a fistfight with Captain Carter. Even her motivation is plot convenient. She turns Reed Richards into blue spaghetti knowing he has kids but becomes this sympathetic motherly figure again at the end. Not that she even needed to do that, she could have easily controlled everyone instead of killing them. She could have adopted orphan versions of her kids instead of just legitimately mugging an alternate version of herself. She could have literally created her own kids out of thin air based off of what we've seen her do. There are just so many factors that made the Illuminati fight so much less interesting than it should have been. In Invincible, however, the tension is incredibly palpable. From the moment Omni Man throws the first punch, we as the viewer are thrown from a traditional superhero story to a place that we didn't expect to be in. You can feel the desperation build more and more as the Guardians watch each other die but keep pushing on until the end. The best part is that it isn't completely one-sided. Even if it was apparent that Omni-Man would come out on top, the fact that they gave the Guardians more than a couple major moments where you might have even thought at some point that they could pull this off was huge. And most importantly, it was the foundation for the whole show. It set the overall tone, it was the catalyst for essentially every crazy thing that happens afterwards. This is probably one of, if not my favorite superhero fight, and if Invincible Season 2 brings an even remotely similar approach, we are in for a very, very exciting ride.